Robin J. is a movie producer, she leads her own speakers bureau, and she's ready to share her knowledge. So let's get to it. Have you ever been bored by a speaker? Why? Would you be happy being a boring speaker? Of course not. Well, I have been bored by speakers for decades, and I decided to change the world. Change the world. I created Storytizing, my signature training that will make you interesting, make you energized, make you more successful. It will have people wanting you to talk to them and to their organizations. It will get you booked on more stages. And isn't that what you really want? Storytizing. You need the training. I am the trainer. Hey, reach out to me, stevesapatoseminars.com. Hi, I'm Steve Sapato, and you're listening to The Happiness Agenda. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited to be here today to talk with Robin J. And she just disappeared, but she is absolutely a phenomenal person. She talks about happiness. She lives her happiness. She has new YouTube channels that will exude happiness when she shows you what she does. Anyway, Robin, how you doing?
I'm great. Thank you for having me on your show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for coming on. And so tell us a little bit about your history. I mean, like all of a sudden you're out there talking happiness, living happiness, but you didn't get there like yesterday.
No, I used to sell advertising. I worked in radio, television, and last for a magazine for 5 years. I was at a radio station here in Las Vegas for 12 years and then worked for a magazine for 5 years. And in 2001, I was diagnosed with a symptom of Hodgkin's, non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. And I realized I was so unhappy. And sometimes I think your body tries to get your attention when, to kind of wake you up. So I started working on my first book, The Art of the Business Lunch, because my clients called me the queen of the business lunch. I was selling for this radio station, and my clients were the big hotel casinos in Las Vegas. So you can't call on them and sell them again and again and again. So I just took them out to lunch. So by the nature of my business, I became the queen of the business lunch. So I worked on that. I originally self-published it. Then I sold it to Career Press. I have a copy of it right here. It's in 12 languages.
Perfect.
The Art of the Business Lunch. And I personally hosted more than 3,000 client lunches, and I saw my sales increase by more than 3,000%. So I was off and running. I became a speaker so that I could talk about my book, so I could sell my book in the back of the room. And then I found out I could get paid to speak. So I worked on my speaking career. And being in Las Vegas, because I really don't love traveling, I thought, why don't I have a speakers bureau here? So I launched you can see it over here, the Las Vegas Convention Speakers Bureau. And I booked speakers. I booked Captain Lovell from Apollo 13 and John Assaraf and a lot of speakers. But I found that the best thing I could do for speakers is really help them set themselves on fire, so to speak, to really have like the latest, greatest bestseller, a great memoir, wonderful video, talk time with people like you on a podcast where they're going to be able to share their message and reach more people. I just, here's the thing, what people don't understand about the Speakers Bureau, and I don't want to discourage anyone in any way, but when someone wants a speaker, they want a proposal. And I had one call in all the years where someone said, I want this speaker. Can you get them for me? Usually they don't know what they want. So they say, we want a motivational speaker, or we want someone who's talking about overcoming adversity or accepting change, or one of the great topics that motivational speakers speak on. So I have to submit a proposal with usually 4 speakers profiled, and a video and their headshot and their topics that they speak on and what would be relevant to what the client wants. So the challenge is, even if I love you and I think you are the one for this gig, you're perfect, you're just what they want, you still have a 25% chance of getting that gig.
Fascinating.
Yeah, nobody ever thinks of that. Everybody thinks, speakers bureaus are passing out paid speaking gigs like stucco jobs at a Home Depot on a Saturday morning, right?
That's right.
So it's just not that easy. I had one client, they wanted a speaker, and I was like, this is the guy you need. And I sent the one proposal with the one speaker, and they went, who else have you got?
Oh, wow.
They
Well, so
just,
what now, when you say proposal, what do they put in their proposal?
well, I
What should they
put
put in?
in my proposals, I put your headshot and your name, and I put your expertise, a little bio, and a little summary of your keynote, what you're going to speak on, and then your fee.
But what
And
makes
so they
someone
review
stand
it,
out?
they review it with their committee. I used to have a boss who said a camel is a horse that was designed by a committee.
Oh, I like that. Yeah.
So that's true. And they decide, and this one likes it and this one doesn't like it, and they go back and forth, and then they come back to me and say, who else have you got? So now I do another proposal for another 4 speakers. Now you have a 12.5% chance of getting that gig.
Yeah.
So the best thing you can do is specialize, set yourself on fire, so to speak, and have the newest book, do a memoir, do something, be out there. So when someone searches for you, they find you. And that's what I really like doing for the speakers who really need help. There's a speaker, Eric Weinmeier, who is $35,000. He's blind. He climbed Mount Everest. He gets $35,000. Last I heard, it could be 50 by now, but $35,000 and first class travel for 2 people, because he needs to bring someone with him, of course.
Sure.
So when you are in that position, and yes, his position is very unique, probably not the best example I could have used, but Brian Tracy or Jack Canfield, they're $35,000. They have the latest bestseller book. Brian Tracy has written more than 75 books on business and success. So you look at their body of work and they become the icon, the best in their field, the best in their business. That's when my clients say, can I book Jack Canfield? And I go, how big is your budget? Well, we've got $10,000. Well, no. Then my work begins trying to find someone who can deliver, who's not in Jack's category, because Jack is 35K or more.
Yeah.
And they all charge even more to travel internationally. So that's Bureau in a nutshell, why it's so challenging to book someone, no matter how good they are. I had a futurist. Oh my goodness. I wanted to book him so bad. He's really good. And he had great videos, and we talked a lot because I had a client who was coming into town and they wanted a futurist, and he's in Australia.
Oh.
And they were calling the Las Vegas Convention Speakers Bureau because their meeting was going to be here. I can send a speaker anywhere that has an airport, but they were having their meeting here, and they thought by calling me, they could get a deal and find a futurist for $5K. Futurists are the most expensive speakers because they can tell you the trends of what's going to happen in finance, in business, in everything.
Finger on that pulse. That's right.
Yeah. They're amazing speakers. And you watch them speak and your mouth is hanging open because you can't believe what's coming out of it. What's coming out of their mouth.
Some of the stuff they're saying, you go, oh, that can't be true, can it?
And there was no way they were going to pay his $25,000 travel.
Oh, just his travel?
Or business. He wanted business class and 4 days here.
Okay.
And his fee, which was like $25,000 or $30,000. So if they're, $50,000 was prohibitive for that client.
Yeah.
Not for every client. There's $100,000 speakers getting booked all the time. When I booked the astronaut, I
don't think anybody picked me for that.
Huh?
I don't think anybody picked me for that $100,000 spot.
Yeah, it's tough, and sometimes they just want a $5,000. Oh, we just want someone motivational. Yeah. And oftentimes they'll have a boss, a CEO or CFO will have his secretary call me to find a speaker because they're having a meeting here. And I don't book anyone for less than $5,000. I did in the beginning, but it's a lot of work. It's 2 contracts, one with the client, one with the speaker. I go there at the event just to make sure everything goes off without a hitch. And being a speaker myself, worst case scenario, if they get snowed in and they can't make it, send me your presentation and I'll do it. Worst case scenario, it's never come to that yet. But they just don't understand what it's like. So then I'll get back to them and say, well, I've got this one, and this one. They all fit what you're looking for. I've got one at 5,000, one at 7,500, one at 10,000. More often than not, when they do not know, it's like they're shopping at Kmart or Walmart. They have no idea what a speaker costs.
Oh, no.
At all. And so they will come back to me sometimes. They'll say, oh, we'll be making a decision by Friday. And then they kind of ghost me. And I follow up and I'm like, what did you decide? Are you ready? We're running out of time here, and they're like, oh, our CEO decided he's going to say a few words. And it's the biggest mistake because with a professional speaker, you get a professional speaker, someone who's done it before, someone who understands. I've been at events where they've said, oh God, I hate it when I have to do this. They want to put a flash drive on my computer so the CEO can get up and say a few words.
Oh, I see. Yeah.
And of course, the risk of it screwing up my presentation is very good.
Yeah.
I hate the technology, everything that goes on with that. So,
Robin, one of the things that I teach people, I teach people how to be great speakers, great presenters, how to not be boring. And so one of my topics is no bullshit speaking, no bullshit communication, right?
Right.
And it's amazing to me how many other speaking coaches teach people how to be storytellers. And I say, you and I've heard some horrible and boring storytellers. I said, the secret is not being a storyteller. The secret is being a great storyteller. And you only do that. I've got a signature topic that I go, it's storytizing. It's where you take your topic, your story, and you turn it into their story by using their memories, their emotions, and their experiences. And you do that with the audience. And boy, they relate so well. So when you say you've got a CEO up there speaking, it's like, I don't think I trained him. I don't think he's.
No. I was at a big event. Oh my God, it was such a special event, a big breakfast, and we did games and we had teams and everything. And then the CEO just wanted to say a few words. And I'm like, I just knew it was going to be bad.
Oh.
And we pulled up his presentation and he took the stage. He was supposed to speak for 8 minutes. He had about 25 slides, total death by PowerPoint. You can't even see when you want to see it. I always say, how expensive are slides? And people say, what? I go, how expensive are slides? They're free. One image on a slide. One image, 3 words, like a billboard. That's it. You can help it. And then you put it up. And then you have handouts.
Yeah.
With anything technical, numbers, spreadsheets, whatever. So he got up there and he had flow charts and all kinds of stuff. It was awful.
Oh.
Pretty soon everybody's like, I gotta go. They left. And he talked very soft and very boring, like we were in his office. It was awful.
And why do you think people think they can talk when they can't? Why I say because nobody's ever
told them they're fabulous or something.
Nobody's ever told you
blowing smoke. It's awful. And I've seen it more than once. And in this case, he really killed the party. And then I got up to do my presentation, which was great. But by that point, as soon as I was done, everybody left.
Yeah.
It was horrible. It's just horrible. And
and it's horrible following somebody like that, because like you say, the people have lost interest. The people are ready to go. They're all fidgety. They're all anxious. And you got to come in.
Yeah. It's like following dogs or children.
Yeah, that's right. Oh yeah.
But I'll never forget that because he was just one of the worst. Patricia Fripp says people would rather hear an okay story that's well told than a great story that's poorly told.
Oh, right.
I would rather hear a great story that's very well told. And it's fun sometimes when you hear a story and you've heard it before, but the telling is so great that you can listen to it again.
I tell the story that I was watching, and it was a guy, he was a rock climber. You talked about that one guy being
Eric Weinmeier.
He wasn't Eric, right? And he was telling his story about being a rock climber, and he was climbing up the rock. He was 200 feet above the floor. He would have died if he'd lost his hand, and his one hand slipped. And he should have had us on the edge of his seat, but he didn't know how to tell the story. So we're all sitting there going, "Wow, really? Your hand slipped?"
And then what? Did you die? Hey, I heard one of the best speakers I've ever heard is Captain Richard de Crespigny, who landed a crippled Airbus A380 with 459 passengers on board. I was on the edge of my seat, and the whole time you're thinking, "Did you make it? Did you make it?" You know, you're watching
Did you
the guy,
die there?
he made it. And it was, he had, the alarms that go off in the cockpit.
Oh yeah.
Beep, beep, dive, whatever. I mean, that was going off. I did tell him afterwards, I said, "You have too many pictures on your screen."
Oh.
And he was like, "I never thought of that." He's going in the moment. And they
Yeah.
were little pictures even on the big screen. You can't see what he's showing you. It was the instrument panel and all that. He says he had a flight attendant, the head flight attendant on the flight. He goes, he normally speaks 2 languages, but I think he was speaking 5 that day. I mean, it was funny. It just makes no sense, but it was funny.
Yeah.
And then he said, once they turned around and landed back in Singapore, they were headed to Australia. They went back, it was for Qantas. And they landed back in Singapore, and he goes, and of course, they're spraying foam everywhere. He goes, and everybody wants to get off the plane, of course. He goes, but you get injured on the slides. So you can get a dislocated shoulder if the person jumps in behind you. They've got, their laptop or whatever.
And you don't
break
know
a
that.
leg. He goes, so I made everyone just hold still and sit till we could bring a staircase over or whatever. He said, and the last thing you need is, there was fuel everywhere. One of the engines was broken. There were more than 500 holes in the fuselage from this engine that exploded.
Oh, that's what happened. The engine exploded. Okay.
On takeoff. Yeah. And he said, so there was fuel everywhere. He goes, the last thing you need is some nervous flyer who gets down on the tarmac and lights up a cigarette.
Yeah, geez.
So he was such a masterful storyteller.
Oh, that's great.
I was literally on the edge of my seat thinking, then what happened? Which is great.
And that's what you want from people tell me all the time. They say, Robin, you don't understand me though, Steve. I have a boring talk. I go, no, you have a dry subject. You're the one who makes your talk boring. And that's really critical to understand, that you can have I was a real estate appraiser for 21 years. I had to go sit through these absolutely horrible, things to qualify to be one. And I always wondered, why don't you I have 100 stories from my real estate days that you can interweave into what you have to teach people that would keep the momentum going and the interest high. And yet they just read the stuff, and you're just like, wait.
I dragged my cousin to a luncheon, and the guy was an accountant. And I said, it's going to be good. I don't remember why I thought it was going to be good. He was a real estate accountant or something. And you just triggered that in my mind. And he was awful. And he was talking about the difference between interest rates, what you can buy if the interest rate is 4% versus what you can buy if the interest rate is 10%. And I just remember thinking, if he could just show a photo of a home, if your budget is $400K and the interest is at 2%, you could buy this little tract home. But or a big home, and if it's 10%, you can buy the tract home, so it was just so boring.
But yeah, people don't understand how boring they are. That's the toughest part. So
I don't know how they don't understand it, but I have tried to help some people and they just don't get it. They just won't learn.
I do fine. That's what they say. I'm doing fine. Yeah. Right. And I tell people, when I post on LinkedIn, a lot of times I'll put in something that says, you know why they're boring speakers? Because there are people like you who always compliment them when they come off the stage or off the meeting. They go,
they like the
job,
person,
Steve.
Not the speech.
Yeah, great job, Steve. Great job. And I think, wow, I did a great job. But you don't know what happens behind the scenes. When you leave the office, when they leave the office, they're like, oh my God, Steve was so boring again.
Yeah, it was awful. Yeah, it's true. You have to be open to criticism. I help people write their memoirs. Right now, I'm specializing in memoirs and leaving a legacy. And they will write these long run-on sentences.
Are you working with Biden?
No. Yeah, but they leave they write these really long run-on sentences. And if I can't picture it in my head, you need to rewrite it because
Absolutely.
you were doing this and then you were doing that. And in fact, I just helped a guy and he said, balloons suddenly appeared in his hand. And I'm like, where'd the balloon come from?
He's a
At a
magician.
concert, did they release balloons? Or was it an old one that had been stuck up in the rafters that just finally settled down? And what it was written on, and there was a light inside it. And I was so confused. So I went back to him. He's a good kid and he's working hard on his memoir. And I said, okay, I can't picture that at all.
Yeah.
And try harder, and let's do it again. And let's make it so people are reading that and going, wow, what a great story. If you're not doing that, and that sometimes I think, Steve, that people are just too close to what happened. I notice even on my cooking show on Keto Over 50,
Yeah.
that I sometimes assume that people know what
and that's why we all need coaches. Every one of us needs a coach. I tell people all the time, there's not one, and everybody understands when I say there's not one professional athlete out there who doesn't currently have a coach and who hasn't used coaches their whole life. And yet we all think we can go do our thing and not need a coach, somebody who can help us, somebody who can do this. If you've got somebody just sit and watch it, somebody like me who can just sit and watch the show and go, I don't understand what you meant here, right? If you've got somebody just sitting across the camera from you, and you can cut this in a certain way. So when you're doing it, they go, wait, I didn't get why you did that. You're like, oh, well, let's back up and do that. Right.
Right.
Simple
right.
things.
Tiger Woods at his heyday had a swing coach, a fitness trainer coach, a mindset coach. He had an investment guru who helped him. He had an agent who booked him for everything. It's a team. And
he had a swing coach, he had a putting coach, he had a
golf, especially, it's one guy. It's not a team of basketball players or a team of soccer players. It's one guy hitting the ball with his caddy, maybe, and so when you're watching it, you don't realize when, Jordan Spieth says, I want to thank everyone on my team. You're like, team?
Yeah.
Who's your team? Where are they? Most people don't understand. It takes a village really to do everything. With YouTube, it's funny because it's me. I'm doing my shopping, my recipes, my cooking, my editing.
Tell us about your YouTube, because we need to focus back. We're here on this podcast and we've got all this wonderful stuff going, and I know people are loving it. Cool. And Robin, I really appreciate you taking the time today to spend with me. It's been fabulous. I've had a great time. I've laughed a lot.
My pleasure.
And if you folks need to get a hold of us, certainly get a hold of me, Steve at stevesapato.com. You can go to my website, stevesapatoseminars.com. And if you want to learn how to be a professional speaker and really get out there and make some great money, reach out to me, Steve Sapato at stevesapatoseminars.com. I hope you have a blessed day. Robin, I hope you have a blessed night.
Thank you so much, Steve.
Thanks a lot. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.